What is going on, everyone? Welcome into Big Time Football Talk. So I want to get to this. I want to break down the Los Angeles Rams 2020 football preview. Last year they had a favorable schedule, went 9-7. Started 3-0, and then against Tampa Bay, things just kind of fell apart. Ended up losing 55-40 in a game that Jared Goff looked pretty poor. 3 interceptions. Game they got behind early, and Jameis Winston, actually a game he played well, but really spotted him a comfortable lead. So at the quarterback position, Jared Goff just received a ton of money, $134 million deal, and Goff he's been pretty solid. He's a quarterback that's, he's not bad. He's got good touch. He's a decent player, but seems to get kind of rattled in the Super Bowl game against New England. You see New England, I didn't want to say he was like super overwhelmed, but against New England, he didn't really seem confident, and their offense really struggled to move the ball. And Todd Gurley moves on now to the Atlanta Falcons. They drafted Cam Akers in the second round of the 2020 NFL draft. He was their first pick. They did not have a first round pick due to the Jalen Ramsey trade. But Cam Akers comes in with a lot of hype, and McVay is going to want to get him the ball in a variety of different ways, like he did with Todd Gurley. McVay offense is really centered, not like centered, but it really features you need a strong running back to kind of make it go, and I think Akers can be that guy. You saw at Florida State, they used him in the passing game. They can run between the tackles. He's a bigger guy than I thought. He's like 5'11", 200. What is he? Not very thick, but he's tall. He's still a pretty built kid. But they also have Malcolm Brown, Darrell Henderson. Henderson, a guy that didn't get a lot of work, but Brown, a guy that got some work in the goal line situations, 5 touchdowns last year. But at the wide receiver position, Cooper Kupp has just been outstanding. Last year, 94 catches, 1,160 yards. Coop is a guy that drafted from Eastern Washington. Actually, not really under the radar, even though he played at a smaller school, the old Eastern Washington with the Redfield. Kupp, a very talented guy, really developed a great chemistry with Jared Goff. Also, lose Brandon Cooks. He heads over to Houston, who I think will probably be a better fit with him and Deshaun Watson. It seems like Deshaun Watson has good connections with with the speedy deep threat guys. Not that it didn't work out like entirely with Cooks and Goff. I think it'll be a better fit with Houston and Watson. Yeah, Cook's only 583 yards, 2 touchdowns. Robert Woods with 1,000 yards, but just 2 touchdowns. Woods is a guy that came into the NFL with some hype, pretty solid career at USC. He was good early on in his USC career with Matt Barkley, then kind of tailed off, and people were kind of wondering what kind of NFL career he would have. I think he was drafted, second round back in, that would have been 2013 NFL draft, I believe. And then, but he was kind of up and down, then really has broke out now that McVay's in Los Angeles. At the defensive line, it starts with Aaron Donald, one of the best players in the NFL. I think is the best player in the NFL, 12.5 sacks in 19. Just turned 29 in May, so he's getting up there in age. The Rams have a lot of money tied into Aaron Donald, but a fantastic player. And they also, Dante Fowler had a pretty good year, 11.5 sacks. Fowler's a guy that was solid for the Jaguars a few years ago. Also has played with, he just played with the Jaguars and Los Angeles. They lose Corey Littleton. He heads over to the now Las Vegas Raiders. Littleton, a guy that was very good in coverage, 9 passes defended. Also showing an ability to make tackles, but a great coverage linebacker. So I'm really curious to see how the Rams defense is losing Littleton, because he was kind of like an unsung hero on that defense that wasn't great at times, to be honest. Got Jalen Ramsey in that trade, gave up a ton for him, as I discussed a little bit. That's why they didn't have one of their first-round picks. That's why Akers ended up being their first pick in the draft. They traded Ramsey for 2 first-round picks and a 4th round. They got a lot of money sunk into Ramsey, Goff, and Donald. So it's kind of what's holding them back. That's part of the reason why they got blown out against the good teams, because there's just a lot of holes in this roster. The NFL is just not a league where you can have just a few studs and a bunch of average to poor players on your team. That's why, I'm not really sold on the Rams next year. I think this is a team that could finish 4th in the division, because it's just like with all these holes, it's just like Arizona's on the rise. You got to play Russell Wilson twice a year. The 49ers are dominant now with talent under a great offensive mind like McVay and Kyle Shanahan. So, but like I said, the running back is a key piece to the offense. So look for Cam Akers. I already did a video on Cam Akers. I think he's going to have a phenomenal year. Love what Akers does in the passing game, in the running game. You saw Todd Gurley, even banged up last year, still 900 yards, 223 attempts. That's what's available for Akers to likely get. So if you are looking for fantasy, Akers is a guy to look for. But McVay has done a fantastic job taking over for Jeff Fisher. Jeff Fisher really kind of drove this franchise into the ground. Jeff Fisher was a guy that was so fortunate to have talented players. Steve McNair, Vince Young. Vince Young, it was only kind of like a 1 or 2 year deal, and he was kind of downhill from there because of work ethic issues. But Jeff Fisher came in, and it was 6-10, 7-9. He made that joke, I'm not going 7-9, but that's really who he was, ironically. But with all the talent, he underachieved. Their offensive coordinator was just so stagnant. Like Todd Gurley said, it was like a middle school offense, halfback dive. It's like you get on the Xbox, and that's kind of what it was. Or run halfback dive, maybe counter. Their playbook was like a Madden basic playbook for like kids that don't really know anything. But tough division with Arizona, Wilson twice a year, like I said. So, but I'm still a believer in Sean McVay. I think that you might see in the next couple of years. They traded, I forget what they got for Marcus Peters, but they're losing some veterans. They'll have a bit of cap space here in the next few years, and they got some draft picks, so hopefully they can bring in some younger talent. So the Rams, I don't see as a team doing anything next year, but the year after that, there'll likely be more pieces in place that they've added through the draft and maybe some pieces in free agency, and they want a better year out of Jalen Ramsey. I don't think he was as good as he could have been, but the Rams, I'm picking them fourth, but you know what? They could be right in it. With their record, they could be on the cups of a wild card spot because, like I said last year, they they beat who they were supposed to beat and then didn't play well. They got blown out by the Ravens. What was it, like 45-6? It really saw that they were exposed. Even in the Tampa Bay game, the Tampa Bay was an very average team under a Winston that threw a lot of interceptions, and Winston didn't even look rattled in that game. They kind of let him get into a rhythm, and I think he might have thrown one interception, but they let Tampa Bay get balanced on offense, and they let Winston throw for a lot of yards with pretty good protection. I know they had some serious age this year, Talib and Clay Matthews, but you always should have a good mix of veterans and young guys, but Talib is just he's getting too old, and then Clay Matthews is really aged. Clay Matthews, boy, he's been in the league for a long time now. But, Los Angeles, they will have a chance to be in that division. So I started a Patreon too, guys. If you want to pay $10, we're going to do an upcoming question and answer segment. So pay $10 on Patreon, and you'll get your question answered here on the upcoming question and answer segment. I'm not sure if I want to do it live yet. I'm still kind of debating. But so thanks for you guys' support. It means the world to me. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at BigTimeFootball1L5. And yeah, so that this is just no bull crap. I really get straight to the talk. I just want to bring you guys the best. I'm not going to be posting as much, but I want bring you guys the best content I can. So thanks for tuning in to Big Time Football Talk. Until next time, peace.